Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, this brings us to the topic of investment appraisals, the finance part of, to be specific, the finance part of project management. So, if you recall, just to give you a brief background, what we discussed, if you recall that, there are there's a life cycle of project which starts with initiation, which is more of an ideation phase, planning, then comes your execution. While you are executing, you are doing monitoring and you control. If things are not going as per plan, you control. And then you do a closure, and then again initiation. Well, this is the life cycle of project management. There is one more important thing. In projects, you have constraints. Your whole job as a project manager is to manage, to control these, to have a regulation over these constraints. What are these constraints? First is scope. Second is time. Third is cost. These three are known as triple constraints, iron triangle. Some call it a golden triangle as well. The other constraints are quality, resource, communication, risk, procurement, and then comes your stakeholder, and the end comes the integration of all those things. Now, if you recall, we have covered the scope. This is covered. We talked about WBS, we talked about estimation techniques, etc. etc. Time, which was part of schedule management, is done. We have done risk. We have done stakeholder in detail, power interest graph, cooperation threat graph. This is, sorry, Control Z, the mouse, no. Yeah, we have done risk, and we have also completed the stakeholder part, cooperation threat, power interest graph, and etc. So now today's topic would be more about, which is costing. This one. So if you recall that, the the artifacts of the initiation phases were needs assessment, feasibility study, business case, project charter, stakeholder register, high level risk register as well, and then assumption list. These are all part of. So you see, you are doing an investment. You are doing an investment. Simple. As a sponsor, when anyone is doing investment, let's say I'm putting in 100,000 US dollars. I will only invest a when there is was a I'm investing it to get a better return, and that better return has to be justified through a business proposal. Business proposal is wherein I will put in 100,000 US dollars and I'm expecting returns, definitely two times, three times, four times, etc. But it has to be realistic because we are looking for a sustainable business wherein you have constant demand of that product, and it should not be like there is some extreme situation today and I person A is putting in 100,000 US dollars, setting up plants and machineries and factories, etc. And after a certain point of time, that demand is naturally towards a decline, and you lose your all the investments, though the initial few years of returns were higher. So we are looking for a sustainable business. In that case, it has to there should be a need. There should be a need of that business. If the need is only for few hours, few months, few years, then perhaps it is not a sustainable business. So the need assessment, is there a constant need of this product? Will this need be there for years, for months, at least for few years because the investment is high? Then feasibility study. Yes, there is a need, but is it feasible? Everyone wants to, for example, everyone wants to fly through air. Everyone wants to take flights. But is it feasible to have that kind of putting in that kind of resources with an aircraft? Then air turbine fuel, which is very costly. Then you have a lot of regulations, air traffic control, pilots, your staff, so the runway, etc. So the kind of investment required for few hundred kilometers to fly through aircraft, is it justified? Or even if you create this kind of infrastructure, will someone is willing to pay? This is feasibility. Feasibility is based on financially, majorly you define feasibility based on finance, technical, and environmental. It can be more as well, but majorly it starts, you start with at least with finance, the technicalities, and the environment. Once you create this feasibility, then comes the business case. Based on that, you create a business case. Business case will have all the details at how much you are putting in terms of money, how much return you are expecting, how many years of investment, risk, etc. All these things are covered in this. Now, let's look at this in another way. Person A is putting 100,000 US dollars, okay, for 3 years. This is the investment part. Return, someone is getting 50 and 50 third year of the investment or fifth year. Now comes B, similar 100,000 US dollars, 3 years. Return is, let's say, 10K first year, 10K second year, 20K third year, and then again 10K fourth year. So if you see the third year, here in third year you're getting 50K. Here in third year you are getting 20, 30, 40, 40K in total. Which project you will choose? Project A, project B. This kind of calculation is required when you select a project to work upon. Now, the value of 100,000 will also not remain same each year. The value of 100,000 may increase, may decrease, depending upon the condition. Market condition plus time value of money. It is extremely important to understand time value of money. The value of money, which is now 100,000, will not be same after 5 years. The time value of money is always decreasing. Okay, so so this is what we are going to discuss. There are quite a few techniques, there are quite a few examples. So let's go through them one by one. Okay, so project managers need to have an understanding of the financial operation of the business in which their projects are conducted. Definitely, you are not a CA. I'm not expecting, or we are not expecting you, the project managers, to do a CA job, but they should have a fair understanding of the finances. Project managers are often called upon to be active participants during the benefit to cost analysis of project selection. This is the process of identifying the financial benefits called capital budgeting. By understanding the basics of accounting and key company financial statements, project managers will be able to see the impact of their project on overall company performance, understand the financial position of contracting companies and competitors. So you have a team to manage, you have contractors, suppliers, plus you also need to see, how your company is faring in the overall market scenario. This you can only come to know when you have a fair understanding and you can have a better understanding of the profit and loss charts of the projects and as an overall company. The nature investment decisions, a lot of resources is normally involved. It is difficult and sometimes expensive to bail out an investment once undertaken. As I mentioned that, the projects goes through certain life cycles, which are initiating, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closure. In the execution phase, you are putting in a lot of money. Even if the initiation and the planning was done incorrectly and you end up spending money in the execution phase, it will be very difficult to come out of that investment. Hence, it is extremely important that you read and you understand the finances and then you commit to those finances. Types of capital budgeting. One of them is payback period. In the example which I mentioned, 100,000 US dollars, you are investing in, and the returns you are getting in project A, you are getting the result of 50K in the fifth year. And let's say there's another project which is wherein you are getting 40K in second year. So payback period, when how soon you will start realizing the benefits, it is extremely important. Discounted cash flow, the value of money will not be same as it is today. So when you are expecting returns, when you are trying to understand the returns, you need to take care of this concept of discounted cash flow. Net present value and internal rate of return, IRR. Types of capital budgeting. Investment appraisal methods. Investment appraisal methods. A, you have discounted cash flow techniques and non-discounted cash flow techniques. In the discounted cash flow techniques, you consider the time value of money. In non-discounted cash flow methods, you do not consider the time value of money. So this is what the basic difference is. Discounted cash flow methods are of two types: net present value, internal rate of return, and non-discounted cash flow methods are again of two types: accounting rate of return and payback period. Okay, this is investment appraisal acceptance criteria. Vary the acceptance criteria according to perceived risk, that is for risky projects. Payback period, shorten the period acceptable. Accounting rate of return, raise the percentage return required. Internal rate of return, raise the percentage return required. And net present value, use a higher discount rate. Now let's understand through an example. So which project you should select? Project A is having payback period of 8 years, or project B having payback period of 7 years. Payback period should be as short as possible. So you will select this project. This is quite basic. Also, there is a formula for present value, which is given as present value is equal to future value upon 1 plus r raised to power n. R is the rate of return, n is number of periods. This gives you the present value. ARR is raise the percentage return required. IRR is raise the percentage return required. Again, internal rate of return. So there are few thumb rules. Your You will select a project which is having maximum net present value, which has you will select a project which is having maximum IRR. You will select a project which has highest benefit cost ratio, and you will select a project which has lowest payback period. I'll repeat that. Net present value, select a project which has higher internal rate of return. The present value is higher, so you will select that one. Internal rate of return should be higher. Select that project which has highest internal rate of return. Benefit cost ratio is how much you are putting in and how much return you are expecting. That's a ratio of that. So let's say I'm putting in 100 and I'm getting 80. I'm putting in 100 and I'm getting 30. So this comes down to be 10, 8, and this is simple 1 by 10 by 3, which is 1 by 3 is 33.33, and this comes down to be higher and this is lower. Anyways, when you have a denominator bigger, it is less, and when denominator is low, it is high when you have a same numerator. So you will select this one, internal rate of return, the with benefit cost ratio. So you'll select the one which is having highest BCR. Payback period, how soon you will start realizing money. It should be less so that your investment is getting realized as soon as possible. Okay, payback period. The payback period is the exact length of time needed for a firm to recover its initial investment as calculated from cash flows. Payback period is the least precise of all capital budgeting methods because the calculations are in dollars and not adjusted for the time value of money. Yes, it is not very appropriate because the value of money is constantly decreasing. You put 100,000 dirham, 100,000 US dollars, 100,000 INRs for a period of 5 years, and each year you are getting 1/10 of it. But whatever money you are getting is always on a depreciating mode because the value of money is decreasing. So therefore, it is not very apt, but it definitely gives us a fair idea of you know fair it is an important aspect to consider, but it does not give us the exact uh, reasoning because it does not consider time value of money. The payback period is a basic project selection method and easy to compute, definitely very easy. Payback rule, it says please select the investment that pays back the initial investment the quickest. As I mentioned, you will select a project which is having payback period lowest. If competing projects have payback period shorter than maximum payback period, the one with the shortest payback period is selected. Quite self-explanatory. Okay. Uses readily available data and straightforward calculation, so it's simple to use and understand. Faster payback results in improved short-term earnings and increases shareholder value. However, can lead to short termism, which may not be in shareholders or the business's long-term interest. Following from the previous point, any technique which places emphasis on short-term gains is highly appropriate for high technology projects where the technology can rapidly become obsolete. It emphasizes quick returns. The sooner money comes in, the sooner will be invested elsewhere. Select the project with the shortest payback period can help reduce the exposure to risk. However, in isolation, such an approach takes no account of real variations in the actual or perceived risk between projects. In order to allow for this, it may be better for a business to insist on shorter paybacks for the riskier projects while tolerating longer paybacks for the less risky ones. So, if you see, the whole concept is select a project which has shorter payback period. Just a second. Disadvantages of payback period is does not normally consider the time value of money, although the technique can be adapted to do so. Does not consider what happens after the payback period. However, this in some circumstances can be an advantage as it recognizes that returns beyond 3 or 4 years are very risky. Would not differentiate between a project with high initial earnings and a project with low initial earnings. So let's say is payback period project A is having this point is important because let's say project A, the payback period is 5 years and the returns starts with let's say 50K. Project B, payback period is first year itself, but the returns are let's say 5K. So here you have payback period which is lowest. This has payback period higher, but you need to also consider the amount of returns that you are getting in. So this technique does not consider this kind of approach. So wherein you have other approaches as well to consider, but this is the drawback. So no technique is foolproof. When we take a decision, we consider benefit cost ratio, we consider payback period, we consider internal rate of return, we consider net present value, and then we take a holistic decision. Takes no account of the amount of capital invested. This is a major flaw since a business would not normally expect a large investment to pay back in as short time as a smaller investment. This is another concept. Let's say you are setting up a factory for a car manufacturing unit. The kind of investments that you have done, you cannot expect a return, complete return of that investment in next 5 years. As opposed to something you have set up a small plant of water purification, the initial investment is low, and you can expect the initial investment to get realized in next 2 to 3 years. So this is one major flaw. Takes no account of risk, although it can be adapted to do so by using different payback criteria for risky and less risky investments. Not related to wealth maximization's objective. Yeah, for big projects or future related projects, you need to make the investment now, and you can only expect returns after a decade because by the time the word gets accepted, word gets used to that technology, it will take time. But by the time the world is ready to use that technology and you come up with that kind of product, it will be too late. So this is known as wealth maximization objective techniques, which does not consider by which cannot justified by payback period consideration only. Okay, this is another important concept, payback period. If you see, this is the project expenditure. Just a second. If you see here, you have this is known as your first consider this. This is project expenditure. At first, you are just putting in money. You cannot expect anything in return. You are just doing investment, 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 and it is going down because you are just putting investment. Now, let's say the project, the factory is now ready, and you start operations. What is the first thing that you do? As and when you start operations, initially you have to hire resources, you will hire managers, you will hire team to work on. So you are again investing. Until this point, you are again investing. Now from this point, the operation starts. Let's say it is a cold drink. Let's say it's a factory of cold drink. Initial setup was to set up boilers, buying land, purchasing machineries, setting up boilers, construction of the building, etc., etc. This is all project expenditure. After that, once this is done, you hire operational managers, you got the formula, you got the tie-up with some brand. They gave you that formula to mix and create. You created the water bottles, labels, etc. So this is again investment. But now at this point you are started operating, and the first batch of that cold drink is now ready to get sold into the market, and you start realizing money. So you see, it is in start it's from this point it starts increasing because the operations are running and constantly new batch of cold drinks are being product manufactured and delivered, manufactured and delivered, manufactured and delivered, and there comes a point wherein all your investment has now been returned. This is known as payback point. This is also known as break even. Payback point or break even. All what you have invested is now returned. After that, you start making profits, which is cumulative cash flow. And if you see this one, this graph is project income. The project initially starts from zero, and then it starts making money, and then it goes. So this is an example of project payback period illustration. Here if you see, the payback point is this project income minus project expenditure, which is zero. You mean, which means whatever you have invested has now been realized. So investment, so income minus expenditure is now coming zero, which means You are not making profit, but you are not making loss. You are at somewhere in between, balance point. Okay, let's understand this calculation, which is payback calculation. Example 1. Payback is equal to investment upon return. Payback is equal to what you spent upon what you earn. You invested, let's say, 100,000 US dollars, 100,000 AD, 100,000 INR. Return is 50 AD per year. So investment upon return is 100, which is investment. Per year is 50. Simply 2 years you are getting. This is payback. If you want to calculate in months, 80, 100, you calculated 50 is by year, you do by 50 by 12, because you have 12 months in a year, it comes down to 4.16 monthly. You simply inserted the same over here. 100 upon 4.16 gives you 24 months. So that is what you get in months. I think it is simple. Now let's say this calculation, payback calculation example 2. Hello. Let me fix this. In this example, if you see, you have initial investment year 0. Project A is minus 1000. Project B is again minus 1000. Net cash flow in year 1 is 500 for project A. For project B, initial first year is 100. For second year, project A is earning 500 again. Project B is earning 200. For year third, project A is at 200, and for year third again, project B is 300. Then year 4 it is 100 and it is 400. So let's see, if you see for initial first year, project A is giving you better returns. For second year, project A is again better. For year 3, project A is 100 less than project B, but if you do a cumulative addition, it is 1000 and 2 is 1200, and however here it is 3, 4, 5 and 6, 600. So in year third, project B is giving you a better return on a yearly basis, but cumulative it is just half of what project A is giving you. Year 4, you have 100 and project B is higher, which is 400, but if you do a cumulative addition, here it was 12 and here it is 1300. Here it was 6 and 6 and 4 is 1000. So again, cumulatively, if you see, project A is doing better. Then year 5th, you have just 10 for project A, which is 12, 13, 13, 10. 13, 10 over here. 13, 10 in total. Here you had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this is 1500. So by the year 5th, you have project B doing well. However, until year 3rd, you have 5, 10, 12. And here you have 6, exactly half. Until year 3rd, project A is doing better. So which project you will select? This kind of scenarios you come across in real life. I think it's perfectly clear and fairly visible that project A is doing fairly better in each year. 500, 500. Here you are getting 1000 in initial 2 years. The first 2 years you are realizing 1000. Here you, in order to get 1000, you are spending how much? How many years? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is 4 years. Clearly, project A is the winner. Let's, you can say it in this way. Then comes another example of payback calculation, example 3. Jutex is considering investing in one of the following indivisible projects. You have initial capital expenditure, expected cash flows times 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Project A is 60,000 dirhams, 15,000 dirhams, 35,000, 20,000, 25,000. Project B is again 50,000, 20,000, 30,000, 10,000, 5,000. Calculate the payback period and advise which project is best for the company. Okay. Solution. So you see year 1, 15, cash inflows. This is just the year 0, which is just for investment. Let's not consider this. Year 1, 15, done. 35, done. 20, done. 25, done. All written. Accumulated cash flows. Accumulated cash flows is how much? 15. 15 plus 35 is 50. 50 plus 20 is 70,000. 70 plus 25 is 95,000. Fraction of the remaining initial investment after 2 years is 10,000. Fraction of the remaining initial investment after 2 years is 10,000 divided by 20,000 gives you 0.50 years. Okay. The payback period is 2 years plus 0.5 years, which gives you 2.50 years. Okay, let's calculate this one. Initial investment was 50,000 here in this case. 20,000, 20,000. So you have 20, 30, 10, 5, 20, 30, 10, 5, 20,000. 30 plus 20 is 50. 50 plus 10 is 60. And 60 plus 5 is 65. For the remaining initial investment after 2 years is equal to 0 years, and payback period simply comes down to 2 years. I hope this is clear. So you will select the project which is having low payback period, which is here in this case is project B, which is having 2 years rather than 2.5 years for project A. Okay. Accounting rate of return. ARR is the average accounting profit from the project expressed as a percentage of the average investment, also known as return of investment. Average capital cost is initial capital cost plus residual value upon 2. ARR is equal to average net profit upon average capital cost into 100%. Something like this. Miss, just a second, let me fix this. All right, so ARR decision rules are: calculate the average investment of the project, extremely important. Determine the profit after depreciation and taxes of the project. Determine the average annual profits of the company. Express the annual average profits as a percentage of the average invested capital. For a project to be acceptable, it must achieve at least a minimum target ARR. Where competing projects exceed the minimum rate, the one with the highest ARR should be selected. It's quite basic, the annual rate of return should be highest, and you should select the project which is having the highest ARR. Advantage is very simple to understand and easy to calculate. Consider profits of the project earned over the life of the project. Allow projecting to compare which require different amounts of initial capital investment. And disadvantages are: no generally accepted definition, profits rather than cash flow, ignores timing of cash flows, no account of time value of money. Here also, no indication of the capex, no indication of how much better organization would be undertaking the proposal. So these are certain disadvantages. So as I mentioned, during the starting of this discussion, that you have a payback period, you have internal rate of return, you have accumulating rate of return, you have benefit cost ratio, you have payback net present value. So we take holistic decision based on all these 5 6 factors, because no tool is complete in its own. So I'll stop the discussion now. We'll start from here in our next discussion. I hope this concept is clear. Thank you.